Today on the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, we are discussing new content.
What?
Wandavision episodes 1 and 2 dropped on Disney Plus, and we're freaking talking about it.
Can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Christmas morning has come at last.
Welcome to the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. My name is Matthew Carroll.
And I'm Jeff freaking Randall.
Jeff freaking Randall. How you doing, buddy?
I am ecstatic, sir. It's Christmas morning. I know it's January 15th, but it's Christmas morning.
And today, I don't care what's going on in your life. Let's talk about Wandavision.
You're goddamn right.
None of this up top jibber jabber. Wandavision happened, and I am incredibly excited. What are your thoughts? General, open-ended.
General, non-spoiler thoughts. It's been so long since we've had new content. It's almost like we forgot how to talk about it. Yeah. We start with non-spoilery, right? And then get into what the real theories.
We can do that. We can do that. Just a little quick non-spoiler top. First, let me say, this when it was starting, I got a feeling like I was a kid, like I haven't felt in a long time. Probably even more so than I was feeling when content was real regular back in the day. This was so exciting as like the opening credits, and when the Marvel the Marvel banner came up. The logo, I was just, my heart was racing. I felt just so excited.
When that Marvel Studios music started, that dun, 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 I was like, oh man, yeah, it's happening. And I was watching it, and they updated that one, like the one that was playing for this, they updated it with Endgame stuff. Yeah. Like I saw Captain America wielding the hammer, and I was like, oh, it's so good.
That is, if you're going to add one thing from Endgame, that's the moment, right?
That's the moment to add, yeah.
I knew it.
But we forgot to mention we have a producer today.
Yeah, we do.
With us.
I'm still bad about mentioning that. We do. Running the boards, we have Matthew Fox. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty well. I know I am trying to fit into Ashley Coffin's esteemable shoes, so I have alcohol with me just to make sure I can get the full Ashley experience.
I like it.
Super excited to be helping out. Sweet. In the morning.
Sweet. It's kind of early, but you know what? I have a bottle of whiskey right here. We might get started in a little while. It's a big day. We'll toast. All right. Back to WandaVision. Let's do this thing.
Non-spoilery thoughts. These two episodes that we got, these two roughly 30-minute episodes that we got, told us effectively nothing. Like, we're just watching I Love Lucy and Leave It to Beaver and, various other sitcom shows throughout the years. Getting real Bewitched vibes. Thank you, chat, for reminding us to say that, I guess. Bewitched, I Dream of Jeannie was another one.
Yeah. It's... The show, it's the show within a show thing they're doing, and it is absolutely just beautiful and like captivating. And the show itself, like the show that they are making, that Wanda and Vision are making in their little world, I'm like, Paul Bettany is a freaking superstar of this era. Like if he were in that era, he has a better, of course he has a better delivery than a lot of the sitcom actors of that era. They weren't always that great, but like he fits into that world while like his delivery, there's a few scenes where his delivery is just so good. Yeah. And so like, I don't know, over the top sitcom comedic while still maintaining his like essential nature as a character, and I just so much fun.
Honestly, it felt like there were several times where they would flip, like turn a switch or flip a toggle, turn a switch, whatever, and go from being that funny 60s, 50s sitcom, whatever, the Dick Van Dyke Show, I Love Lucy, and like flip it to like acting modern. And just watching that happen, and like you could see the subtle shift in how they held themselves and their tone and everything like that. And like
for sure,
being able to watch that happen in those moments was like really just stunning to watch. These masters at work. Paul Bettany is a freaking legend.
It really is. this kind of there's a certain, I don't know, there's this old flair to it, obviously, that they're going for, and it's just they're pulling it off amazingly well. And I don't mean to leave Elizabeth Olsen out either. I particularly thought Paul Bettany's comedy was amazing.
Oh yeah.
But she pulls off that sort of like I don't know, that this era perfectly, just absolutely perfectly.
I think it's that manner of speaking.
That mid-Atlantic accent she's using, and that just her delivery and everything is just so perfect. And it's very campy and over the top, but it's very deliberate. And you're right. There's a few moments where you can tell something's creeping through of the real characters, and those moments are very, very intense and interesting. Yeah. And we'll definitely get into that in the spoiler section, which I think we should just do, because I don't know if we're going to be able to talk to this without spoiling. Even though there's almost nothing to spoil, there's almost nothing in this episode to spoil, and I still feel like we're going to spoil things if we don't just give that warning.
There's one more thing that I want to talk about that's non-spoilery. Okay. Like, we're giving all these props to the actors. I want to give props to the technical team behind this, because the fact that they were able to do all of the Bewitched style, items floating in the air to show magic happening, or her telekinesis happening, like everything that was going on in a technical sense made the show look exactly like the old shows. Like, even the graininess of the video was perfect in the first one, and it got a little clearer in the second one because the technology got better. And then at the end of the episode, I don't want to spoil it, but at the end of the episode, when the color came in, it was like Technicolor happened. And watching that go through was like, it felt like it was, you were watching, TV through the years improve and get better. And it still doesn't feel like at the end of it, it was like, it doesn't feel like it was at any point, modern technology yet. But,
right.
I know that it was all modern technology filming it and everything. And then there were a couple of little drops where the camera angles would change. Like when it was a close up on her face and she looked, when in episode 2, we'll talk about it, but there was the camera angle went to a close up on her face, and I was like, whoa, that feels vastly different. It's just, their tech was on freaking point.
Yeah. There's a few moments where they're clearly, not only does the acting change, but the directing style changes slightly. Yep. And and you just go watch it if you haven't yet, obviously. And I feel like most people that are checking this out probably have.
I'm going to jump in with just a relevant point here. Nate Muzzy points out that not only did they switch the ratio in episode 1, but they mixed the audio to stimulate mono-channel.
That's amazing.
So not only was the vision, but also the audio, as Nate's pointing out.
That's awesome. I was watching on my computer, so I couldn't tell the separation, but that's really cool.
That's really awesome.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into spoilers. Thank you, Muzzy, for that. Thank you, Matthew. Let's get into spoiler alert. We're gonna do the countdown like old times. 3, 2, 1.
We still know absolutely nothing. We still know fucking nothing.
we know sword is a thing. Sword is somehow watching all of this.
Like you and I, we know sword is a thing only because we have picked apart all of the trailers and logos and everything. Like the casual, everyday Joe average viewer knows nothing about what sword is.
I don't know. Well, I agree if you're not, maybe you haven't watched the show, but when that, if you know about the comics and when that scene cuts from the cold open, as it were, into the main shot, that sword logo is very prominent.
It is.
Very, very prominent. And that's the biggest spoiler for me, was just the way that they structure this. The entire first episode is a cold open, and then you get the intro sequence, which they play again in the second. It's almost like they just, I guess it's less of a cold open since they're doing it at the end of every episode, it seems. But like, I just thought it was genius. It was just like, they never did anything off book. Wanda and Vision stay within their world for the entire first episode, with the exception of the choking scene. which there's some really creepiness going on there, right?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I was going to point out is like that's when one of the shifts happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
When they go from like super campy, old school style when she changes her voice from that transatlantic accent and like Vision, I swear, like all of that.
Mm-hmm.
She changes from that to Vision, help him.
Yeah,
and
that Vision, help him, I think is some of the keyest things we know about the show so far.
Yep. It's weird, like, he reaches in, he takes out I think it was sausage stuck in the guy's throat. He pulls it out, and then he just gets up, it's like, oh, look at the time, we gotta go, bye! Mm-hmm. And they just leave, like, oh, you really impressed me tonight, son, and they don't talk about it.
Yeah. No, so a few key things happen in that scene. So that really in the first episode, that's the only scene we get real clues as to what's going on. And a few things. The wife of Mr. Hart, I guess Mrs. Hart, she is freaking out about her husband choking.
Yeah.
But then she starts to laugh again while he's choking, which to me is Wanda is, or whatever force is causing this world to come together is forcing her back into her role as the happy housewife instead of the freaking out housewife whose husband's on the floor, even though her husband is choking. So she's like, oh no, ha, 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 ha. It's like the creepiest thing. It was so well done and creepy.
That goes pretty well in parallel with the end of episode 2 when the beekeeper shows up and Wanda just says no and then rewinds everything and then it plays out like like a normal TV show, happy ending and everything.
Exactly. That rewind, it's her enforcing her will. And so I think that her saying no in the second episode shows who is doing all this. She is doing all this. She has control.
Oh man. Is she the villain?
I think she's the villain.
Oh, man.
At least she will be the villain.
Just an important point there. Melissa pointed out that we see Wanda recognize the sword logo on the beekeeper. And so that may also be part of why she's saying no. Is when she sees the beekeeper, she specifically, the camera seems to indicate that she sees the sword logo on the beekeeper. So it's a sign that Wanda, at least, recognizes that sword is having something to do with this, and that's part of why she says no and then rewinds.
I think it's possible. I also just think that she's apparently been protecting this world for a while, or at least they've moved through different time periods, and it seems like she's had to rebuild her world a few times. It just seems like she's forcing this world into being, and the outside world is trying to get in. The other thing that really creeped me out in that moment when she says, Vision, help him. She does not seem concerned with him at all. She seems like a puppet master annoyed that her puppet won't dance like she wants him to. She goes, Vision, help him. So
I didn't get that feeling at all.
I totally got that.
I got more of a feeling of I don't understand why you're not helping him. We are heroes and you have to be the hero, do the hero thing.
Interesting. That's not how I read it at all. I read it as she is annoyed that she's having to break character to tell Vision to do something because her puppets aren't dancing like she wants them to. That's how I read that, but I could be. You could be right. I could be wrong.
I think I'm gonna have to watch it at least 4 more times.
Oh yeah, for sure.
To really understand.
I almost watched it. I woke up at midnight for no reason, and I almost went in there and I ended up staying up a while, and it came on, and I almost watched it before the live watch with everybody, just so I could be fully ready for this cast. But I
thought about that too.
I decided to watch it with everybody else.
My alarm went off and I was just it's time. Mm-hmm. And I almost leapt to the computer. I was no, wait, I need to get caffeine. I need to get breakfast. I need to prepare actually for this.
Got to get my Adderall. Got to get my caffeine. Both things, heart racing, ready to watch.
Yep. Yep.
So the other thing that I noticed, and I don't know if you caught this, there are multiple times where Wanda almost notices something that the world is about to fall apart, and Agnes interrupts. Did you notice this?
I think so. I feel like I noticed it, but I can't point out any specific instances of that happening.
A couple big ones is she's looking at the helicopter. She's staring at the helicopter, and then Agnes walks up and distracts her. Right. And she like drops it and never thinks about it again. And then another one that I noticed, this was a lot more subtle. When Vision flies during the performance right here, Agnes reaches for her purse. And I don't know what's in Agnes's purse that could be doing something to this simulation or world or whatever she's in. But right when he starts to fly and Wanda starts to look around and freak out like everyone's going to discover what's going on, she reaches for her purse and pulls it toward her. And then when Wanda creates the scaffolding, she pushes the purse away.
The pulley, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I thought that was really subtle, but really, really cool.
Oh, I want to go back and watch that like right now, actually.
Yeah, there was one more, and I think I have it in my notes. If I come across it, I'll let you know. But there was one more that I noticed that the anniversary. That's what it was. She was freaking out about when what the special event was.
Yeah.
This is early on in the first episode. She's freaking about. She's like, I don't know. I can't remember what our special event is. And Agnes is the one that presents. It's an anniversary, and she goes, yes, an anniversary. And it made me think like she's helping her tell a cohesive story.
Yeah, it's like she's laying the foundation or helping to lay the foundation for this world.
Yeah, like anything that she keeps throwing out ideas and she rejects them. And then she says, an anniversary? And she goes, yes, an anniversary.
It feels like they played that really well, though, in a way that just seemed like, 50s sitcom to like, it's supposed to just be an anniversary. Well, I'll help do all the planning and blah, blah, blah. Like that's what the women do while the men are away at work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was perfectly played. And honestly, all three of those moments, I did not feel like I thought they were very subtle, but they were all moments where something happened that could have taken Wanda out of the story, and Agnes stepped in those moments. So I think Agnes is trying to help keep this world together, and Sword is trying to pull it apart. So whatever that means, I don't know.
So Nate Muzzy actually pointed out something about that, that it's not just Agnes. Nate points out that Wanda does think about the helicopter again, and she's going to tell Vision, and then she gets put on stage by Dottie.
Interesting. Dottie, who is played by Anya from Buffy. I loved that. I freaking love that. Haven't seen her since Buffy, and I love her acting. Interesting. And I did get the sense that maybe Dottie knew something more than she was saying. Like she could have been involved somehow. I like that. Thank you, Matthew, for bringing in the live chats, keeping that going.
Oh man, that furthers the theory that Agnes is an agent of Mephisto, using this world to bring about the twins and give Mephisto a vessel of power in the world.
There's some comics background on that.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's going to be Mephisto. I kept thinking Ralph. She keeps bringing up Ralph, which I know is like a sitcom like trope, that there's like an off-screen husband that is a slob. Like that's the sitcom trope she's using. But I kept thinking like, who is Ralph? And I'm wondering if there's like, if we'll find out the villain or whoever's behind, we're pulling the strings behind Agnes, and it like somehow Ralph becomes some longer name or something else. And I was like looking up Ralph in the comics just to see like who's a Marvel Ralph.
Ralphisto.
Ralphisto. All right, that's what we're calling Ralph from now on, I guess.
Yep, Ralphisto. I just kind of glanced over at chat. I see Muzzinat said they straight up mentioned the devil. I remember in the episode, they said the devil's in the details, and we were like, Mephisto confirmed.
Yes, and then well, she says, and actually it's the two of them. Dottie says the devil's in the details, and Agnes says that's not the only place he is.
Yes. Oh, Matt.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
So, I said we don't know anything.
And then we've been theorizing a lot, yeah.
And we know enough to make really great theories.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on for sure.
There's so much just under the surface.
What do you think of these ads?
You know, the two commercials, we got one in each episode.
Yeah.
It was so off-putting the first time because it was just a television commercial that didn't seem to like come on like a normal commercial. Like I remember watching TV and commercials like, you know, it always starts with a, do you, or like, is this blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And like, it started with him saying like, is your husband tired of you burning his toast? I was like, oh God, it's so sexist. Like I hurt when it happened, but like, it didn't feel like a normal commercial. It felt more like an oddity kind of dropped in the middle of this episode. It's something to like throw us off of a scent or, you know, make us wonder and kind of like lead us down a different path of trying to figure what this is or figure out what this is instead of what's going on with Wanda. Like, why is this important? We have to figure this out while we're forgetting about, you know, the beekeeper and the hexagons and all that.
Yeah, it's interesting because those two things that they sort of put in there do not seem connected to the story that we've got so far. Right. We've got, well, Stark, which he created Vision in a lot of ways. So, or at least, you know, partially created Vision. So what does it mean? I just don't know. Yeah. I don't know what his involvement would mean. And Strucker, well, I guess actually totally makes sense. Strucker created Wanda.
Yeah. Strucker created Wanda and Stark created Vision. And
yeah, that's a really strong connection there.
The toaster, if you look at if you kind of let your eyes go a little bit, it looks like a face. You know, the knobs are eyes.
Yeah.
There seems to be Vision's gem dot in the forehead, right, with the light.
Also, it's called the Toaster Mate 3000. I just want to point that out. Toaster Mate 3000.
Oh yeah, 3000.
3000.
We love you, 3000.
Yeah. We love you, 3000. Or it's 2000. Wait, I thought it said 3000 at one point. Maybe I'm thinking of something else, 3000.
I don't know.
And it says, forget the past, this is your future, too. So just zoom in on this here. Yeah. Oh, it's Toaster Mate 2000. I'm sorry. I thought it was 3000.
I toast you 2000.
I toast you 2000.
Forget the past, this is your future.
Yeah, no, that definitely connects to what's going on here, right?
Yeah. Well, like, you know, you have to let go of Vision dying, right? Like that was the cause of House of M, is that she accidentally killed Vision and Hawkeye and, you know, other heroes, and she couldn't
deal with the loss that she'd suffered.
Yeah. She couldn't deal with it. She couldn't accept the fact. She couldn't reconcile her reality. So, you know, it just kind of started making other shit happen. Oh man. And forget the past is obvious. Like, you need to let that go so that you don't keep breaking reality.
Mm-hmm. Or it's
let go and let us have this.
Yeah, I took that differently. Forget the past. This is your future. I thought it was, this world is telling her, and she is telling herself to forget the real world. Yeah. This is her future. Come play
with us.
Yeah, this world that she's creating is her future. And it's interesting. We talked last week on the cast about the Wizard of Oz being in one of the trailers, or the Great and Powerful Oz, being on one of the theater.
It was things. Oz the Great and Powerful,
and we were talking about like the two witches. And we've also talked about her brooch has 3 figures on it, 2 figures off to the side, and then in the middle there's a figure of death with the sickle. Yep. And like that just makes me think there are these 2 women, Dottie and Agnes. Thank you, Muzzy, for that. Dottie and Agnes are noticing, are controlling things for a third figure that is outside the story so far, which Mephisto's a good possibility But it could be someone else. I don't know.
No, it's Mephisto. There's no other person it could be.
And I love the little things on the Strucker watch. It says Swiss made. It says Hydra, and there's the little Hydra logo. Just really, really beautiful.
Yep. So what's this fascination with watches and time? Forget the past. This is your future. Mr. Hart says, oh, look at the time. I got to get out of here. There was a commercial for the watch.
I don't know. I don't know about those things. There is time in this world. I wonder, maybe I know you're joking completely, but that is like a classic. Clearly, there's a classic screenwriting trope of the clock, and so like
the ticking clock.
Maybe they're doing something there with the idea that maybe there's a time period. Maybe if she holds on to this too long, it's going to hurt too many people.
ADL is pointing out that the watch is stuck at 2:42 and asking if we know if there's any significance to that.
I don't know, but I'm guessing that could easily be some sort of comics connection, things like that.
Oh, my search history today is full of just like random crap. Earth 242. What was this? Here we go. Let's dig in on this. Earth on fire.
Okay.
It was apparently an Earth entirely on fire.
Okay, that's probably not well, unless Devil, Lake of Fire, Mephisto.
Shit.
There we go. Mephisto's been cast into the Lake of Fire, which is Earth 242.
At the end of the first episode, whenever we saw the sword agent hand writing notes and closing the book and turning off the TV or whatever.
Yes, which looked a little like Maria Hill's hands, but I'm not sure.
Those look like Robin Sparkle's hands.
Those are Robin Sparkle's hands for sure. I would know that Canadian pop star's hands anywhere.
I'm not going to ask why or how, but
I had posters.
The thing that I noticed the most in that is the sound that was going on. There was what sounded like helicopter blades going. And then the first thing in the next episode, in the episode 2, the first thing that happens after they come back from the opening credits is that she finds that helicopter in the bushes.
Oh, wow. That's cool. That's a neat little connection that they probably had a helicopter take off and then it entered the zone and then she
reduced it to a toy.
Reduced it to a toy. Man, I just freaking love this show already. I'm in love with Wanda and Vision in it.
Yep.
And I'm loving their whole thing.
They're so wholesome.
But also it is clear that they are very likely the villains of this story.
Oh, I don't know that I would lump Vision in with her. As far as villainy.
Well, Vision, I agree. Vision is, but he's like I think Vision is sort of an extension of her. He is being created by her.
Yeah.
Whereas it seems like a lot of these other people are people that are questioning this reality. So they are probably actual people that are tied up in this thing. Whereas Vision is probably whole cloth being created since he doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. And I mean, she says at the end of the episode, is this really happening?
Yeah.
And he's just like, yes, this is really happening.
Yeah. And then, well, he asks, is this really happening? Then they see the beekeeper and then he goes back to, is this really happening?
Yeah, she rolls it back.
Yeah, is this really happening? And then basically the answer is no. And she realizes it and then forces them back to that question again. Is this really happening? And then,
yes, it's really happening.
And then the kiss and then the Technicolor. It's like a beautiful story that I want to believe is all good and great and wonderful things for them. And I want to root for them, but I also can tell there's something sinister going on and it doesn't seem like they're on the right side here.
Yeah, I am very much on board for the theory that this is likely all happening as a way for her to process her grief. Like that's how she's got her mind on it, but it's probably being hijacked by by Mephisto for nefarious purposes and trying to be saved by agents of S.W.O.R.D. Like, I'm very on board for this theory. Like, all of this show is just a product of her grief over losing Vision. Because like what she said to Thanos when she showed up in Endgame is, "You took everything from me."
Yes. Have you watched the Marvel Legends that they put out in preparation for this?
Absolutely, yes.
So this is WandaVision, and it's clearly a lot about Vision. But the thing that I found notable about that particular Wanda story, they really focused on Pietro.
Yeah.
A lot.
They really did. A lot
more than I expected them to. And
a lot more than the actual universe did.
For sure. And when he is fighting, when she is destroying Thanos and ripping his armor off, and it's that super badass scene, she is having flashes of Vision, but she's also having flashes of Pietro. And I think that is key to what is going on here. I think that something big is happening here.
I think that she's going to recreate them and they're going to pop out into the world.
I think you may be right. Something that I found interesting, that it's one of the first things that happens. And so anytime something is the first thing that happens in a show, it always makes me think it's sort of symbolic, because you're making something, you decide what's first. And one of the first things that happens is a plate breaks.
Yeah. My wife and her flying saucers.
And then Wanda uses her powers to put it back together. And it reminds me of the Humpty Dumpty tale.
That's her shattering psyche.
Or it's her shattering world. It's Vision. It's Pietro. It's a thing that can't be put back together. It's too far gone. But she has the power to bring this plate that's completely shattered back together. And she's trying to do that to Vision and Pietro, possibly Pietro. I really think we're going to get him in this, because we know he was one of the characters who's played him in a different universe was announced. But I
theaters,
think, yeah.
But she specifically said, "My husband and his indestructible head." And if you remember in Infinity War, like, Vision got picked up by the neck and just like pulled it straight out of his head, pulled the stone straight out of his head, and then was left on the ground. Right. Yeah. So if she can rebuild him and make his head indestructible, he won't have to die like that.
Yeah. So like it's a silly line. It feels very much in keeping with that story, but it is, there's a lot in that first moments of the episode.
Jake just said in the chat she's trying to put the Mind Stone back together.
That's possible.
That's what that shattered, right?
Yeah. So can she? And then in the universe, later that Mind Stone is gone.
Yeah, he said he reduced it to atoms.
Yeah,
he reduced them to atoms.
Can she bring that back? That's a good question.
Only she's got the power.
I thought it was interesting they didn't really focus on this line in the actual episode, but in the last time on that they play at episode 2, they have the line where Mr. Hart yells, "Why did you come here?
Why did you come here?
Damn it, why?" Yep. And it made me think there's a lot of anger in Mr. Hart for her coming there. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
They play it like it's anger at them for not knowing, and he's just a grumpy old guy, a grumpy Gus. But I could definitely I definitely at the time got vibes of like, he's asking, why did you come here and ruin our town like this? Like, why are you destroying our reality and forcing us to live your way?
Yeah, I thought the same thing.
And I just want to chime in about Mr. Hart. One thing I noticed, he doesn't appear anywhere in the second episode except in the credits of the WandaVision TV show. He's not mentioned, but when we introduce Vision, we see him, like the cartoon version, at work, and there's a Mr. Hart person who's like getting frustrated with him, very clearly shown.
Yeah, he threw water on him.
That was a very intentional way of saying, like, Mr. Hart is still around. He's still an important part of what's happening, even though he's not appearing in this episode.
Well, his wife was there in the talent show. She was one of the people in the crowd that was clapping for them.
Right.
So, like, while we didn't see Mr. Hart, we definitely saw Mrs. Hart still, as, you know, this is evidence that Mr. Hart is obviously still around.
Yeah. Brian V. Klein over in the chat said, first law of thermodynamics,
Energy cannot be created or destroyed.
Cannot be created or destroyed. Matter cannot be created or destroyed. So, like, it makes sense that all of this that she's doing, she's having to take other components to combine them to create what she's creating here.
And if you, oh man, something to like to go on that, like to further that theory of Wanda came here and is destroying their reality or whatever. In the credit sequence, you know how there's like it shows the images of like the rose and the gazebo and the water tower and all those things in the very pixelated, like almost like old TV pixels mesh. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That whenever it shows the house and everything, like there's one specific one that seems to drop in and explode, and like the house gets blown away. The house like comes apart in the mesh. It's like this one pixel comes down, and I'm thinking that's indicative of like this is Wanda coming to this world and it just shattering around her. It's like a stone going into a very still lake and making the splash.
I could again also see it the opposite way, where Wanda is building this world, but little elements from the outside keep creeping in and destroying it.
That could be.
It seemed like this whole little, I guess the intro sequence of the show seems like it's this world that Wanda is creating. So I don't know. It was so cool. I love the intro. It's absolutely beautiful. Paul Bettany is just so funny. He had two particular lines, moments that stood out to me. The entire magic show as a moment, just absolutely funny.
Yep.
His Paul Drunkney is my new favorite Paul Bettany.
It's my new favorite version of Paul Bettany.
Yeah. And love it. I love it. Absolutely. And I love too, when she takes the gum out, he goes,
that really gummed up my systems.
Well, he takes it out and says, it's such a great meta joke. I'm not as funny without it, am I? It's like, why is that? That's so good. It's so funny.
And I love when it went in. We got the little animation, the like super 60s animation of like,
yes,
it was a cartoon of like the gum going in and gumming up his gears.
The other line that like made me laugh out loud and very hard in the first episode was she calls him, she yells, who does she yell? Diane. She yells Diane because she's talking about Chicken Diane, I think, or something.
Steak Diane.
And then he says, coming, Fred. Just absolutely genius level acting for that time period.
Oh, yeah.
So good. It's so good.
And that whole scene was so funny where he was sitting there playing the ukulele. And just like,
yeah.
And oh, man. And he was singing Old MacDonald. And he turns to Mr. Hart, and Mr. Hart's just like, nothing. Just stoic. Deadpan. And he's like, pig. It turns back to the wife, and she keeps singing with him. It was so good.
Yeah, It really was. It really, really was. I got a few other things in my notes here. We got the roses. There's something going on with roses. It's in the title sequence, at least in the second episode. I didn't notice in the first.
It was in the first.
She's got rose bushes out in front of her house, and she was wearing a rose shirt. Wanda was
wearing a rose shirt, a rose colored outfit once the Technicolor came on. And then Agnes was talking about Dottie's roses. They bloom under, there was a line that she said like under threat of incarceration or some shit like that. Something.
Incarceration.
No, it was really aggressive.
Okay.
So, roses are a focal point, right?
Yeah. Roses are for sure something going on with roses.
Pollination. I mean, roses, pollination, the hexagons, beekeeper, like something is getting Something is getting created.
That's a good point with the beekeeper and the hexagons. I hadn't considered that. We got these two hexagon pictures you had me bring in. Both of them end with the hexagon.
Yeah, both of the WandaVision show within a show episodes end with a hexagon around them.
Yeah, in the classic style of like a closing in on image.
Framing, yeah.
Yeah, so so who's the queen bee? Is it Wanda or is it someone else?
It's obviously Mephisto.
Possibly. I think it makes me think that whoever's doing it is female, and that may just be me. Like, is there a female that's similar to Mephisto? Or Mephisto could be female in this verse.
Yeah.
So I did a quick Google dive on this. This is probably a very far stretch, but just interesting.
You gave it a goog.
There is a character named Rose in the MCU. She's the babysitter who watched over Hope when Hank Van Pym and Janet went away on their SHIELD mission.
Okay.
I don't know how that would possibly connect, but just interesting. There's also a story that Axl Rose has been cast for an MCU project sometimes in 2021. I also think that's way out of left field.
No, man, he's gonna play Mephisto, and that's what the roses are all about.
Oh man, that's what's up. That's the one.
I would love it if like that babysitter was like a secret SHIELD agent somehow. Like if that's tied in, I don't know what's happening, but it's interesting that that's an official Rose in the MCU we have.
I feel like that's probably just a red herring because there's a lot of names in the comics. I feel like that Rose doesn't seem like the one. Now, if there'd been a Rose that was like some sort of evil goddess, I would have been like, that's it. But I don't think the babysitter is probably the one.
This is not the comics. This is the actual movies. Just to let you know. But yes, still probably a coincidence.
I see.
No, this is in the actual MCU.
Agatha Harkness in comics was originally introduced as a babysitter or a nanny of Franklin Richards and his sister.
Okay, now I'm starting to think this theory has a lot of merit because it sounds like Agatha. Sounds like they could change that story to Agatha Harkness was actually Rose, who was mentioned in a previous MCU project, and she was Tony Stark's babysitter. Is that what it said?
Babysitter for Hope Van Dyne. When Hank and Janet go off on the mission, that's when they think Janet dies. Rose is the babysitter who stays with Hope.
That could absolutely be Agnes.
Don't doubt the goog, man. The goog wins.
Don't doubt the goog. I never doubt the goog.
Never ever doubt the goog.
Okay. What was the name of the African American character that was at the tea party? Do you remember?
Geraldine. Her because so much of the jewelry has meant something either in the trailers or here, her swirly brooch made me think it meant something. Like, what could a swirly brooch mean? Right? You know what I'm talking about? Did you catch it? Yeah.
It looked almost like a portal. And that's what I
was thinking.
Yeah, it immediately made me elicited like alternate realities, universes. It made me think she possibly could have been like pulled from an alternate reality. Like maybe Wanda needs more energy or matter than this world can provide, or whatnot.
That actress is Teyonah Parris. That's Monica Rambeau.
Okay, I thought that might be the case. I've only seen her in that trailer.
It was the 70s, so she looked vastly different, right?
Yeah.
And Haley Hobbs points out that when Wanda asks her name, she pauses and then says Geraldine.
Yeah, she's like,
Or because she's a secret agent and she's trying to lie.
Right.
Which we've just so we throw it out there in the trailer. Monica Rambeau, that actress, is seen in a future like a 70s attire, but she's wearing a sword necklace.
Yeah, it's a sword necklace.
We believe she's a sword agent.
Well, also in that trailer, Wanda's like, "Who are you?" And she says, "I don't know." And then we assume she gets thrown through the wall.
Yeah.
Honestly, like that gives me serious comics vibes from the Tom King comic from 2015-16, I think it was, the Vision comic. Because Grim Reaper, the brother of Wonder Man, burst through the wall to be like, how dare you? You don't deserve to exist. Basically saying like your brainwave patterns are based on my brother's, and he's the only one that is worthy of having them, so he wants to kill Vision.
Okay.
That happened in, I think it was like issue 2 or 3 of the 80s comic, Wandavision, or Scarlet Witch and the Vision, I think it was what it's called. Or Vision and Scarlet Witch, whatever. But then he shows up at the end of issue number 1 of the Vision comic, and I think he cuts in half the android wife that he makes.
Okay, so in Scarlet Witch and the Vision, there's a character named the Grim Reaper, and you haven't mentioned that with the brooch with the sickle all this time?
I'm sorry. He's kind of a punk. Like, in comics, he just gets shit on so much.
Okay, so maybe not the big bad, but
yeah,
it still
I don't know that he's necessarily the big bad, but
or he could be like one of the three. Like so far, it seems like there's 2 characters in this world that are messing with Wanda, Dottie, and Agnes. So could it be that there's a third that we haven't met yet who might be the Grim Reaper or that character or whatever?
Yeah.
There's 3 characters on the brooch. I don't know. Just spitballing here.
I think the aspect of death there is like, that's the shadow looming over the twins, right? That's the shadow looming over Wanda. Oh man, we haven't even thought about that. Like the death of her brother and Vision are the things that are taking her down a dark path, right?
That's true. There's death and 2 figures on the brooch that could be Pietro and Vision. Whew. A couple things I liked a lot. I liked the use of "Help me, Wanda, yeah, get her out of my heart," because it was in a moment where I believe it was when one of the characters seemed like they were wanting to break out of the simulation or whatever. Like they were sort of annoyed with her, just like these other characters seem sort of like annoyed that they're controlling them, like Mr. Hart. And it was a moment there, and it says, "Help me, Wanda, yeah, get her out of my heart." And that, get her out of my heart, get her out of my brain, get her out of my will. I don't know.
I don't remember that part.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I think it may have been Dottie, though. And that was before someone, I think Muzzy pointed out that Dottie may have been in on things, but who knows? Maybe she's not. I think it was when Dottie had cut her hand, and Dottie looked like she was she knew something more than the thing, and then "Help me, Wanda, yeah, get her out of my heart" played.
Okay. I think it was interesting. Speaking of the cut hand part, like the first colors that we see in the world are red. Like the helicopter was red. The red was the
Scarlet Witch, baby.
Blood. And then Vision's face is more of a red.
Yeah, and she's wearing rose colors.
Yeah. There may be something to this.
Okay, so that we get the line, "Who's doing this to you, Wanda?"
Yep.
It seems to be coming from outside the house. And somebody pointed it out while we were doing the live watch, and it sounded like Jimmy Woo, and I think that's right. I don't know why we didn't hear that when we were listening to the trailer, but that sounds like Jimmy Woo.
Yeah, that sounds a lot like FBI agent Jimmy Woo.
Yes, it does.
So in between episodes, whenever we had our little few-minute break, I was like, I want to know all of those names that are on the credits that are going up, like on the Wandavision show.
The credits of the Wandavision TV show.
Yeah, I started Googling like literally every name, and there's only one that seems to bear any kind of significance, and it may not even be anything actually significant, is the director that was listed on the show is Abe Brown. And may not be anything, but one of Peter Parker's academic decathlon team members is named Abe Brown.
Interesting. That's weird. That's either like someone putting an Easter egg in or, maybe a small connection to that. That's interesting.
It could be like my first thought was, well, this is a smart kid. He's in the academic decathlon, right? What if he didn't get snapped and he went on with his life over
that's true.
5 years and is now a leading scientist with sword and has helped to construct this reality and is directing this show.
Yes. Oh, that is absolutely possible. I like it a lot. Or it could be that he's one of the people in this town.
Could be.
It's possible. Or that he's working with Agnes and Dottie if they are working together.
He's the third one.
It's interesting just seeing how it seems like there's some sides building. Yeah. Abe Brown. He's the Grim Reaper.
Yep. We got it, you guys.
We solved it.
He is Mephisto.
That's not a convoluted theory at all.
Nope, not in the slightest. Makes perfect sense.
Oh my goodness. The last thing I have in my notes, and I can't believe we haven't brought it up before now, but for the children.
For the children.
This was a very popular topic in chat. A lot of people have been asking if this is a cult phrase or want to hear you talk about it.
Well, I think it's for sure. For the children is talking about the twins.
Yeah.
It's like this entire reality is for the children.
That's what I'm thinking.
The children. Yeah.
The whole reality is for the children because Mephisto is using the children, like he wants to cultivate the children, right?
Right.
That's what I'm thinking is going on. And that's also why I'm thinking that the hexagons are indicative of this is a beehive, right? Or this is where we're fostering, creating these little bees, right?
Creating a colony of some sort.
Creating a colony, and I don't know.
See, to me, bees don't immediately, or hives don't immediately come to mind of reproduction, except for in the sense it's like the queen, and maybe she is the queen. I don't know. This gets convoluted quickly. It doesn't immediately jump to my mind that the bees mean reproduction. Well, although they do for plants, clearly.
Well, honeybees are eggs are laying inside the hexagon patterns, right? Or inside the hexagons, and they become larvae, and they grow to pupa, and then.
Okay, that all happens in the hexagon.
Right.
Now that's not bad.
Nate Muzzy wants me to remind you, Matt, of the birds and the bees.
Right. In pollination, the bee carries the seed from one plant to the other, right? So the pollen. So what if whatever like you're talking about, whoever the character is wants to create the twins, so he is using Wanda's power to create this version of Vision to be able to create the twins so that he can harvest whatever power. Maybe that beehive or the hexagon represents the beehive, which is representing pollination of this life forms that he's creating.
Pollinating Wanda.
Yeah.
She's the queen bee.
She's just a plant in this experiment that he's running, or maybe in another universe, multiverse of madness coming. Maybe in another universe, they know that he knows the power that should have been created by between Vision and Wanda, these two twins, and it never happened. And now he's using Wanda's power to manifest it and allow it to happen here as it did in another universe.
What if the twins happen and, it's Wiccan and Speed. Those are the kids. Speed's a speedster, obviously. What if that character, Speed, is played by Evan Peters?
That would be cool. I would like that a lot, especially now they own the rights to that stuff. I would love it if they just straight up steal his speedster. The way they did those scenes, the two scenes in the X-Men films, are just so much fun, and it would be really fun to bring them in.
When was that? It wasn't Days of Future Past. When was that set? The past part?
I don't know.
1970s, I believe. I'll look it up.
It's like 75.
I think the Nixon impeachment is going on, if I remember. But I'm looking it up right now.
Man.
So we were thinking that the next episode is probably going to be in the 70s.
Possibly. Or 60s. I think 60s.
Well, it's 60s in episode 2, and she just got pregnant.
Brady Bunch. Is Brady Bunch 70s? Yeah, I guess it is.
1973 is the year they go back to.
Okay. So 73 is when they go back. This episode 2, seems to be set in the 60s. She just got pregnant. We could very well have the Quicksilver that is Evan Peters, like legit just that character.
Be like born into this world and be part of that verse or whatever. It's possible.
Oh, shit.
What you got?
What if this version of reality that Wanda has created is the Fox X-Men universe?
Could be, I guess.
That's the verse that she has created.
Yes, 100%. It's there.
The acting is too good. It can't be.
It can't be. You're right. I'm throwing all the spaghetti at the wall this episode.
Yes, indeed. Did you have any other thoughts before we jump to the chat and see what else is going on?
I got my hexagons theory out there. My hexagons call.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that I said that before anybody else threw that out there.
Yeah, it's a good theory. I like it.
Yeah, I don't know that I have anything else. I can't wait a week for more content.
Yeah, I can't wait either. Well, let's bring Matthew Westfox onto the camera here.
Sure.
What you got in the chat?
All right. So we've got a bunch of things. Some really great comments been made. A lot of things I've been kind of letting you know as we go along. But some good questions that are raised. First of all, Brian V. Klein asked, did anyone sing along to the intro music?
I did not. How do you know it? How do you know this song?
Do you mean the Marvel intro music? The dun 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 dun.
Oh, that I definitely sang along with. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's what he meant.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant the Wandavision song.
Melissa commented she had no idea that an actor could make a character like Vision have so much range and emotion, to which Yodahu responded, Bettany is Bay.
Bettany is Bay.
Okay, so Jeff, we're allowing new bays. It's good to hear.
Paul Bettany, am I right?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Paul Bettany.
AHM 031013 pointed out something that they found while reading Reddit, and that someone on Reddit, the Iceman2288, had said, the ads are a reflection of Wanda's trauma. And related to that, Icarus 094 pointed out that the Stark weapons affecting Wanda's family is her origin story. And so that might also tie into why it is specifically a Stark product in that first ad, because both of the ads are reflections of how Stark hurt her and also how Hydra hurt her. Interesting.
Oh,
I think that is true, definitely true. And somebody pointed out during the live watch, and we didn't bring it up yet, that the toaster noises that it makes are like Stark noises.
Like the repulsor sound.
Yeah, the repulsor sound is used for the toaster, which is very funny.
Yeah. I think you've discussed this to some extent, but just kind of put a pin on it. Haley Hobbs asks, why bees?
Why bees?
You know what? I'm such a dummy. We're sitting here talking about hives and hexagons and all of this stuff. And I had not even thought about the beekeeper in connection with the hexagons.
Really? Really, Matt?
Just didn't cross my brain. Just didn't connect that we were sitting here talking about bees for two reasons. Because there's a beekeeper and there's the hexagon. I thought you were getting that purely from the hexagon. I was like, it's a little tenuous. I don't know. But yeah, there's also a beekeeper. Screw me.
I mean, I thought I said it.
You may have. You were definitely talking about bees, but I thought you were just getting it from the hexagon. I was like, yeah, I guess that connects. No, yeah, that connects more than I was thinking before. Oh, it's early, man. We watched it at 6 a.m. so we could bring you this podcast as soon as possible.
So we need to do another one with the whole Panda crew. the entirety of Stranded Panda on like over the weekend when we can get everybody in.
I like it.
Maybe a little bit later in the day, you know, so that everybody has some time to think.
Icarus094 also points out, Wanda 100% instructed Vision to help that guy, right? And you discussed that, but Icarus also added, it seemed that Vision couldn't help unless Wanda let him.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that Wanda is orchestrating this either out of pure grief, and her grief is being harnessed, or she is just straight up gone villainous and is controlling this entire environment. And in that moment, to me, it seemed that she allowed Vision to break his puppet character to help this other puppet character who was dying.
Right.
And you know, actually, it seemed like she told him because Vision was just playing out his role. And then she's like, you are a pure creation. I am creating. I want you to do my bidding. And he did.
So odd thing. Why is it that when she says Vision help him, the first thing he does is use his power to like, you know, to go through and pull the thing out? Like, why did the Heimlich not exist in the 50s?
Well, it's a good point. I think that might be evidence to the fact of what we're just talking about is that like maybe he actually does break character. You know what I mean? Like he's not worried about Mr. Hart finding out his secret in that moment because he actually breaks character and goes, I am Vision. This is what Vision would do. He walks through walls.
This is what the Vision does.
He doesn't use doors. He doesn't use Heimlichs. He uses his special hand.
Because we established that at the very beginning of episode 1 when he tries to like carry Wanda through the door or things like that.
Oh man, that was so good. That opening sequence was so funny. And he opens the door and looks back and it's like, oops. And she's like, oh, you.
I actually have a question for you about that, and it turns out other people are asking similar things. Just talking about Vision and his internal workings, in the comics, is it established that he has the anatomical functioning to be able to induce pregnancy?
It seems like in the comics, it's kind of back and forth because like early comics, it's like obviously you can't have children. He's a synthezoid. He's not a real person. He doesn't have that function. But then she creates the children with her power, like just kind of out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. But then later, like he creates a robot family, you know, like in 2015, 2016 or whatever, the Tom King one.
But that's a full robot family, not related to Wanda.
Yeah. And it wasn't, and he made Jocasta, I think, or no, Ultron made Jocasta. That's right. To serve as like his wife.
I think the answer here is just that like, she's creating this whole world, so it doesn't. She can make herself pregnant if she wants to, I guess.
Right.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I think that's what it's going with.
Yeah.
Of course, that doesn't go along with the whole bees theory about pollination and maybe needing Vision to make this happen.
We'd had a couple people in chat suggesting that he got her pregnant in actual real life before the snap, and so that was part of why we're discussing it.
Maybe we finally get an answer to do pregnant women when they snap. Do both of them go? Because we had that very dark conversation 2 years ago.
Oof.
Welcome to new listeners.
I don't think that it's Vision is needed to help her pollinate. I think it's that Vision is needed to keep her sated in this world and happy in this world so that the Mephisto pollination can happen, right? Okay. I don't think that it's his synthezoid semen, so to speak, that's needed for this. I think it's just his presence is calming for her.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and it does seem like it's some combination of they're needing her. They're not just creating this world around her, but they're needing her to want to maintain this world and giving her motivations to continue to maintain this world, because it's definitely not fully being created by someone else. She is part of the entire experience.
Right. If you don't keep this world up, you no longer have Vision. He's dead in the real world.
Yeah, exactly.
So Icarus094 actually has a theory about this. They write, My current theory is that Wanda made a deal with the devil, bring Vision back in exchange for her firstborn.
Ooh.
So we're getting biblical here.
Dark. Some dark
and actually,
stuff,
something
Wanda.
I wanted to ask, but I know a few people in the chat had also mentioned, for those folks who had not been following all of your like lead up to WandaVision episodes because they didn't want any of the spoilers of the trailers, can you give a 60-second who is Mephisto?
Oh, well, in the comics, Mephisto is like the Marvel 616 version of the devil.
One of the devils.
One
There's
of
several
the devils. Right. But he looks like the devil, like the classic pitchfork, fork tail kind of guy, or pointy tail kind of red guy.
He's also red. There it is.
He's also red. That's true. But that wasn't really speculation based on the trailers necessarily. Well, kind of. Agnes, who we believe to be Agatha Harkness from comics. We believe that to be a scrunched together name of Agatha Harkness from comics, who at some point did something similar to this, where Mephisto used Agnes or Agatha Harkness to get Wanda to create one of the children, so that they could use the power of the child.
Yeah.
Or to harness her chaos magic or whatever it is.
Right.
So it's something it is a storyline from comics. We're not sure that they're pulling from it, but a lot of things seem to keep confirming it.
Right. And Vermilion points out that Mephisto is kind of a shortening of Mephistopheles, which is a common name for the devil across many pieces of literature. Alphonse points out, I watched both episodes. It felt odd and eerie. Looking forward to getting back to normal MCU style.
Oh, interesting.
That was something we talked about, that feeling like this was great, but we're looking forward to getting back to the actual, let's break out of the sitcom and go back to the real world. I'm
excited to break out of the sitcom and find out what's going on, but I also really enjoyed this, and it's just kind of neat to be, I guess it is weird. It's neat to have new Marvel content, it to be so different than anything we've seen before, and really different than anything I've seen before, not even in Marvel, but just in general. So I'm excited, but we've got Falcon and Winter Soldier coming for that, you know?
Yeah, that comes in March 19th.
Yeah, and Loki seems pretty more traditionally, even though it seems wild and out there, it seems a little more traditionally styled like Marvel. So I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to enjoy this for what it is.
Mm-hmm. Brian V. Klein asked, does anyone have a guess as to when the show takes place? And Haley Hobbs said, I have a kind of crazy theory that it's during the blip. During the snapping.
Interesting. It's like she's like that classic they're in the Soul Stone theory, maybe, and this is part of that.
Oh yeah, this could be the Soul Realm.
Yeah.
Because Wanda got snapped, and like all of these people that are in there could have been people that got snapped.
Yeah, absolutely. And this could be them playing that out. Although, I don't know. I think I'm more interested to see what happened after all of those events than I care too much to find out what happened to the people during the snap. At least the people who disappeared.
Yeah. I think that it's likely going to be set after the snap, just to, like everybody's getting their lives back together, and she actually has a chance to start to process the grief. And this is probably just a product of that, like a product of that grief.
Right. Oh, we've had a couple of requests from chat for you guys to talk about Glamour and Illusion and how they were old school characters in the comics and might play a role in this.
I heard people saying that in the chat. I did not know Glamour or Illusion from the comics.
Yeah, I have no idea who those characters are.
I am unqualified.
Something we can look forward to. ADL also asks, who do you think the couple in the ads is?
Yeah, they were the same people both times.
The couple. Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's kind of like the magician and his assistant, right? But it was the same people both times.
That's cool. I didn't catch that, so I didn't even. I'm bad with faces. I'm bad at recognizing people.
Yep.
Did you catch the Lou Esposito?
No. Who's that?
He was the mailman in the second episode.
Oh, okay.
He was walking by when Agnes was just like, stick him up. And he was like, ah.
Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just the messenger. Yeah.
Yeah.
So going deep into the science of beekeepers, Vermilion 1 points out beekeepers blow smoke to settle the bees in a hive so they can collect the honey. Are the children the honey? And we've been talking about, like, is a lot of these, the kind of stories are happening, is this all blowing smoke? Is this all, like, ways of, keeping Wanda happy so that someone can collect the honey?
I love that. That's beautiful. Good job, Vermilion 1.
For the children.
Freaking awesome. Yeah, for the children, for the honey. Like, they're just collecting honey. Yeah, I love it. They're in a hive. Man, this is such a great little complex set of imagery, and they like layered it in multiple ways. I really love it. And that's a really great call. Good job, Vermilion 1. You solved it. That's what the show is. Now we just need to know who is the beekeeper, and is the character that we saw. See, I was thinking that's the thing though. We've been thinking that Agnes is the person who's working for Mephisto, right?
Yep.
Problem is the beekeeper. So if the beekeeper in this analogy is the person keeping her subdued, was wearing a sword jacket.
Yeah.
So does that mean that Sword is working with Agnes? So we've been thinking there were two different sides, but it could be that they're all working against Wanda.
It would be so easy to let, or for Mephisto to be pulling the strings of Sword also. Like, he's playing both sides of it to bring her out. Like, the main thing that he wants is the children, right? So, like, any way to get the children, he'll play every angle. Like, that's what Mephisto does.
Right. And we've heard the Jimmy Woo character, whoever that is, that's the voice that's saying, Wanda, who's doing this to you. We don't know that Jimmy Woo's character is going to be part of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Sword.
The only reason we think that is he in the Ant-Man movies, he's an FBI agent.
Well, in the trailer, he has an FBI jacket on.
Okay, so he's probably still an FBI agent, but it seems like he would be working with Sword.
Quite possibly, but it might be that he's actually trying to help her while Sword is doing something else.
Yeah, it could be that he's the FBI agent actually trying to save the day, and Sword's being a dick in the background.
Yeah, maybe this Agatha Harkness business is just all a misdirect to make us think about Mephisto, when really they're just more Sword agents that happen to be named Agnes, and they are there to they're there to extract whatever they need to from Wanda, and they're all keeping her in this. And then that if FBI agent Jimmy Woo is separate from Sword, it makes a lot of sense why he would be calling in, like, who is doing this to you?
So I might now be going way too deep down a rabbit hole. But the only time someone pointed out in the chat earlier, the only time we've seen anything Sword-like is when Nick Fury was in space, which is also when we got introduced to the idea that the Skrulls are hanging around a lot.
Yep.
Is it maybe that this version of Sword is in any way connected to what's going to happen in Secret Wars or stuff the Skrulls are up to? Or
absolutely, and we connected this on a previous podcast. In the Captain Marvel movie, the Skrulls have a computer that they hook Captain Marvel up to, and they force her to live. They force her to relive certain memories. And they go into her memories and try to extract things from it. So they have a technology that could be what Wanda is hooked up to in this exact thing, which I think seems pretty likely. So if Sword and the Skrulls are working together to extract something from Wanda that they think they need, whether it's the children or whatever, or it's something else completely, if they think they can generate the Mind Stone from her, something like that, like... There, something could be using her either with or without her consent. We're not sure.
Also,
that's another thing we talked about, is like the idea that this could be Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Wanda, where she she's
trying to forget her past. This is her future.
This thing. Whatever she's going through, she's trying to figure out who's doing it to her. She's stuck in this thing, but maybe she consented to this all the time. Like, maybe this was something she put herself into to try to get over the grief.
she's trying to forget her past because this is her future.
This is her future.
And Nate Mosey points out the series did start with a reference to flying saucers.
Yep.
So that's another sort of thing that maybe space stuff is happening.
There you go. Man, that first moment, breaking a plate, flying saucers, indestructible vision, and breaking something that seems shattered, but she's putting it back together. That's beautiful story writing right there, people. This is so good.
Matt, I wanna let you in on some information that I just remembered. Like I was scrolling through the marvel.fandom.com/wiki page on Mephisto, and one of the things that I had forgotten about until I saw it here is that he was very key in the One More Day storyline. One More Day was a Spider-Man story where Aunt May got wounded, sniper bullet, right? And Mephisto cut a deal with Spider-Man to save Aunt May, but he had to erase Spider-Man's marriage to Mary Jane from existence, as well as the public knowledge of his secret identity.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
And that's the last thing that we saw happen in the MCU before this.
So what you're saying is this just a whole nother Mephisto theory that this living out life with Vision could be a form of wish fulfillment that Mephisto has given to Wanda in return for possibly her child.
What if Mephisto is our next big bad? Like, what if this is planting the seeds in Mephisto?
Absolutely. And then the Spider-Man story could be something similar.
Yeah.
I like it. And just to kind of cross-reference here, but because they're both Disney, you know, we've talked a lot on other podcasts about how The Mandalorian kind of planted seeds for all of this other Star Wars content that's coming. So I like this idea that it may well be that we're sort of, with WandaVision being the first new thing, it's planting the seeds for all these different parts of the new MCU that's coming.
Absolutely. I think that like we could see Mephisto doing the deal with Spider-Man for the One More Day story, whatever. That would be fine. Or that would be like perfectly awesome. And then he could be trying to harvest the kids here, but then the kids are they escape from it, and then they are in the world, right? And then we get step, the Young Avengers with we were talking about Kang the Conqueror, right? With Jonathan Majors being Kang the Conqueror, and that being in the third Ant-Man movie, what was it, Quantumania, and Cassie Lang is going to be older in that one. So Kang the Conqueror, Cassie Lang, Wiccan and Speed. There's talk of the Patriot showing up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, we're getting Young Avengers, Matt. They're building Young Avengers right here.
It definitely seems to be.
Related question from the chat. Is it possible that WandaVision is also a prequel to an Agents of S.W.O.R.D. show?
It's absolutely possible.
Agents of S.W.O.R.D. And Secret Wars, I think, could be one of those, hand-in-hand kind of things.
Yeah,
they did announce Secret Wars, and like that's the Nick Fury-centric show. And the last time we saw Nick Fury, he was in space with Sword.
Man, they got this so planned out. Like the Where's My Shoes scene from the end of Spider-Man Far From Home.
Or is it Who's Got My Shoe?
Who's Got My Shoes? So good.
Nothing will ever make it worth all the horrible things the pandemic has led to. But if one silver lining is that you basically had all of these writers with nothing to do for however many months because they couldn't make new content. Mm-hmm. And so we just had like the ability to plot out like the next 4 years of all these things.
Yeah, to take a beat and think about what you want to do instead of always, like, I mean, the Marvel machine has been running for 12 years now, nonstop. And so to have this time, I'm really hoping it bodes well for the content going forward. Well, I think that about wraps us up for the podcast, right? You got anything else you want to throw out there, anybody?
Brian B. Klein corrected me. It's not Secret Wars, it's Secret Invasion. Secret Wars was a different thing.
Yes, sorry. I didn't even notice you said it wrong. Fully thinking you said Secret Invasion.
Just one last comment I wanted to make from the chat. Gump's Magic Shoes wrote in an interview that they saw Elizabeth Olsen do. She said that the plant that Agnes gives Wanda at the beginning of the first episode is in every single episode of the series. Not sure if it's going to be more significant than just a plant or not, but it is in every single episode, Elizabeth Olsen has said.
The plant? Does she mean what plant? Did she give her a plant? I don't remember.
The first thing that she hands her is a plant when she's like, what are you doing around this big old house by yourself? Like, she hands her a plant as a welcome to the neighborhood.
Okay, so that's interesting. If that continues to persist through all versions of reality, it seems like it might be a thing where, like, it shows that Agnes has some power in this world, maybe that doesn't succumb to Wanda's ability to change everything.
She's planting the seed.
Planting. Pollination. I think we're on to
Plants,
something.
pollination, bees. I mean, it's all there right in front of us.
All there. Thank you, Matthew Fox, for joining us today. Thanks for filling in for Ashley, our lady in the chair, being our man in the chair today.
Yeah, sure.
You've got anything you want to tell everybody about?
Yeah, sure. My pleasure. Obviously, I'm part of the Stranded Panda Network. I do a couple podcasts of my own that both Matt and Jeff are frequent guests on. On the Superhero Ethics podcast, we're actually doing a lot about Marvel stuff right now. Our own Jay Scotty and I just recorded an episode all about Doctor Doom and sort of where he fits in the old questions of like villain, anti-hero, or even a hero in some stories. I'm also doing something, continuing our series on the history of comics with Jess Plummer, so that'll be coming out soon. Over on the Star Wars chat, we're doing everything we can to spend this year getting ready for everything coming up at the end of 2021. So we're right now going through the Clone Wars. We're going to continue our reviews of the movies. I will get Jeff back on to at least talk about how much he hates one of those movies, probably Solo. We'll see what we can do. But the biggest thing I would say, so that's the Star Wars Universe podcast. The biggest thing I would say is for anyone who wants to follow all those different things, I'm moving all social media just to one place, the Ethical Panda. So instead of having different ones for superhero ethics and Star Wars, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on the website, you can find all of that on just by searching for the Ethical Panda. And I will get that all updated on our Stranded Panda website.
Yeah, for sure. Superhero Ethics is just a super fun show. You guys should definitely check it out. And the Star Wars Universe podcast, you guys have so much content coming to talk about with the big announcement a couple weeks ago. So
definitely,
it's going to be rad. It's going to be rad. And we're hitting that right now with 2021. You guys in 2022 are going to be in a similar position where it's just like content every week. I love that Disney is making so much stuff for us to talk about and enjoy. We are the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. If you're back to the show or you're new to the show, I'm assuming there's probably some new people just finding us because of WandaVision, and also some people who haven't been here in a while who are coming back. Welcome back. We've kind of expanded a little bit since last week. You may have checked in. We had someone checked in with us on our Twitch stream on Wednesday night. Zuhair Ali, who's written in a number of times over the years. He checked in. And he was like, "Yeah, so I hadn't been listening to the podcast because I haven't been commuting, and then I listened to the podcast, and I was like, what is going on? You have a network now? You do live streams now? You do all this stuff?" So yeah, we're strandedpanda.com is where you can find all our stuff. There's merch. There's all of our podcasts, which we have a lot of things going on now, including all of Matthew Fox's podcast that he mentioned. So yeah, we just got a lot of things going on. The Star Trek Universe podcast, Star Wars Universe podcast, Bingers Assemble, Wandavision, where we cover things that don't fit into other universes. So just a lot of things we're doing now. You can find it all at strandedpanda.com. We're also live streaming on twitch.tv/strandedpandatv. Lots of things you can find, and YouTube. So yeah, we're just trying to do a lot of stuff. We found ourselves a little more time on our hands during this COVID time, honestly, than we wanted to have. So tried to do as much creation as we could during this time. So hopefully
idle hands are Mephisto's playground.
It's true. It's so true. We will be back with you very soon, you guys. Thank you so much, and peace.
Until next time, true believers.
Thank you for joining us for the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, available everywhere you get podcasts, and now a video version streaming live on twitch.tv/strandedpandatv and available at youtube.com/strandedpanda. And if you'd like to learn more about all of our other podcasts, geeky projects, and ways to support the network, visit strandedpanda.com.